Dr. Capps, so tell us about what effect vertical integration can have on raising the barriers on entry for would-be new participants. Do we eventually get to the point where that causes problems?
That is certainly one of the theories out there, that if you need, if an entrant, say, to move into a new state, needs to contract at multiple levels of the value chain in order to be successful with that geographic expansion, if you can block on any one of those value chains, you can keep the entrant out. So sort of, therefore, if incumbents vertically integrate up and down the value chain, they may be more able to block entry. That at least is the theory. I think in the category of vertical harms that people are worried is under enforced, I haven't seen that one feature prominently. It's more in the category of taking two existing competitors, one of them vertically integrates and then uses the acquired assets to harm the rival competitor in a way that diminishes competition for the end customers.
So how is this issue typically viewed by antitrust agencies when reviewing deals like this?
The harming the competitor mechanism, or the multi-entry barriers?
The restrictions on entry, the barriers to entry.
I think I'll defer to Professor Greene whether he can name a case that was driven by that, because I can't think of one right now.
I think it has been mentioned in a couple of consent decrees, but it goes hand in hand with foreclosure, because if you're making it tough for your rivals, you're also making it tough for any new entrants. So the concern might be in CVS Aetna that a new insurance company, an upstart insurance company that wants to enter, faces a more formidable barrier if it's foreclosed from getting good PBM services because of the tight oligopoly among PBM providers in its market. That's going to discourage entry into the market if it has to enter on the insurance side, which is hard enough to begin with, the commercial insurance side, and have PBM services at a reasonable cost. And if there is foreclosure going on or raising rivals' costs, it's part of the same problem.
Professor Garthwaite, you highlight a lingering concern that widespread vertical integration in the healthcare industry may eventually limit the total amount of competition that the market can sustain. Tell us about this concern.
So I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to.
The fact that at some point it might have, I guess it's related to the last question, that it might have an effect that could limit the number of competitors serving the healthcare market as you have more vertical integration.
So
what, if anything, can we do about this?
Yeah, it's possible that you get to a world where we've got these 3 to 5 firms. They're offering really great service. It becomes clear that if you want to compete in this market, you've got to be successful at all of these parts of the value chain. And frankly, it might just be hard for another firm to come in and offer that competitive service. If we got to that point, I just want to note we're at a point where we've got 3 to 5 firms that are offering really low-cost care that customers really want, and that's probably an increase or an improvement over where we are today. At that point, if you really think that there's sort of no way another firm can enter, or we have certain markets that start to look like natural monopolies where you can only have one firm potentially offering this, we have regulatory responses to that. But we're pretty far from that being a concern at this point, that we can't get sufficient competition in these markets. And 3 to 5 firms does look like a good amount of competition.
Yep.
It can.
Go ahead.
It can sometimes vary based on population. So Kaiser is successful, especially in California, where there's enough people for it to have its own hospitals, its own doctors, and its own insurance plan, and it operates has for decades in direct competition with other insurers who are not vertically integrated. Some are experimenting, but by and large are not vertically integrated with providers. But Kaiser itself, when it's gone outside of California and it has to contract with hospitals, it has struggled and not done nearly as well as it does in California. So some places don't have enough people for there to be enough assets at each level of the value chain to have 3 or 4 vertical silos or 5 competing. So it depends on population in part.
Not entirely on population, though. I mean, we've seen a collapsing of the hospital market down to most markets in which we only have 2 or 3 essentially dominant hospitals. if we let them acquire silos with the vast majority of specialists, et cetera, there's going to be very little room for those other hospitals to compete because of foreclosure effects. So there is a problem there that goes hand in hand with hospital concentration. And I'm not sure the model of having two single integrated entities in markets is a good solution, because we've seen how oligopolists perform in the past. So there is that risk that the physician acquisition phenomenon can turn into a recreation of very tightly siloed markets.
Thank you.